give you a quick introduction about him. So, Love Zohar is a seasoned governance, risk, and compliance professional and certified ISO lead implementer with over a decade of experience in cybersecurity and information security training. As the founder of CyberGRC, he has delivered 10,000 plus hours of training to 20,000 plus professionals across 15 plus countries, empowering global teams to implement and audit ISO 27001, ISO 22301, ISO 27701, and ISO 42001 framework. Loves practical hands-on teaching style, bridge technical depth with real-world application, making complex GRC concept simple and actionable. He holds multiple certification including ISO 27001 and 42001 lead implementer, CompTIA Security Plus, ITIL V4, CCNA, and Prince 2 practitioner.
Welcome back to Cyber Talk with Cyber GRC podcast. I'm your host Vidya, and today we are diving into the most urgent and powerful requirement of Digital Personal Data Protection Act, that is data breach notification. Cyber incidences are rising. Personal data exposure is becoming more common, and DPDP Act has made it crystal clear. When a breach happens, organization must respond fast, transparent, and responsibly. In this episode, we'll break down why breach notification matters, what the law actually depends, and law actually demands actually the timeline you must follow, how companies can avoid penalties reaching up to the hundred of crores. If you work in cybersecurity, privacy, GRC, or handle personal data in any form, this episode is for you. So with our first question is, what is considered a personal data breach under DPDP Act?
Yeah, very good question to begin with, Vidya. So, personal data breach in the DPDP Act means any unauthorized, or accidental disclosure of the personal data, right? For example, any unauthorized disclosure or any other unauthorized data breach where your personal data is leaked, it's compromised, its confidentiality has been compromised, its integrity has been compromised, or availability has been compromised. So this is what we call as a personal data breach under the DPDP Act. Okay, this includes things like hacking, ransomware, accidental emails going to the wrong recipients, any sort of misconfigured cloud S3 buckets that we have, any sort of stolen like end user devices like laptops, any unauthorized downloads by the employees which actually lead up to these data exfiltrations. And if personal data becomes exposed, altered, or unavailable, it's basically a data breach as per the DPDP Act.
Okay. My next question is, what does the DPDP Act place so much emphasis on notification?
Because the act is built upon transparency, accountability, and harm prevention to the personal data, actually, right? So that is where data breach notification is very important, because with this notification only, you will be notifying the affected individuals, your clients, your customers, and allowing them to basically be aware and to protect themselves. For example, if there is data breach, then you have to inform them so that they can change their password, they can watch for any fraud or react to any particular uh, difference in the behavior of their account being logging in and all that. So notifying the customers, notifying the board actually ensures regulatory oversight also. Okay, so together breach notification prevents harm to the customer and build trust with the data protection board of India. Okay.
Okay. But who must be notified when a breach happens?
So, in the DPDP Act, two parties have to be notified. First of all, we have the Data Protection Board of India. That is a mandatory notification we need to give them. And then, secondly, we need to notify all the effective data principals. For example, all the effective data subjects. For example, in a data breach, you have got 500 customers data leakage, right? So you need to inform now all these 500 customers that we had a data breach and your data has been compromised, right? So this is how the breach notification has to be done. No matter how the breach happened, no matter who caused the breach, no matter how the incident happened, we have to inform both these parties, data protection board of India and the customers.
Okay. But then what is the after process of this? After breach
So
happens, and if you had informed already to both of these branches.
So after the breach has happened, what we do actually is basically we have a breach response steps. If you see on the screen, Vidya, so these are how we need to respond to the breach now. Okay. So what we do basically, we respond to the breach. We basically activate the response team. We trigger incident breach response procedures that we have created as an organization. We contain the breach. We stop further data leakage by isolating the affected systems. We assess the impact, identify what all data was exposed, how it was exposed, and up to what extent it is exposed, right? And then we try to patch the systems from where the data exfiltration happened. Then we try to preserve the evidence also, so that for any forensics or any other reporting, we can show the government of India or anybody who is involved to see how it happened, right? Then we escalate within the management also, notify the data protection board of India and notify the data principals also, like we discussed. So this is what happens after a breach, right?
Okay. What is the legal timeline for breach notification?
So, legal timeline for DPDP rules 2025 as per the breach notification is within 72 hours to the Data Protection Board of India of becoming aware of the breach. Okay. And similarly to effective data principle also, like immediately when you confirm that the personal data leakage is involved, whoever's personal data, for example, if the personal data contains your name, my name, so we have to be informed that okay, as a company we had this data breach and your data has been compromised. Okay, we should be informed like that.
What information must be included in a breach notification?
So this is where DPDP basically helps you to understand what all information is there. So if you see notification requirements, so it should have a clear explanation of what happened. Okay, how it happened. Okay, what are the types of personal information that was involved that has got leaked. Okay, what is the potential harm, what is the possible negative consequence for the individual whose personal data has been leaked, what are the actions taken by the organization, like you asked in the previous question, what are the actions taken after the breach, so what are the mitigation measures, okay, actions taken to reduce the damage, what is the data principal steps, any advice for the data principal, for example, if our passwords are compromised, so does the organization now wants us to change the password, do they want us to do that, what are the next steps for the data principals, right? Advice for the individuals who are affected by the breach, that also has to be cleared out. Any contact details, any information for reporting the concerns, for seeking help by the data subjects, that should also be clearly mentioned in the data breach notification, and confirmation that the board is aware of the breach. Okay, so all these things basically data DPDP breach notification actually requires for the organization, right?
Okay. To the audience, anyone feels like asking a question, feel free to ask any question related to topic or anything that you feel. My next question is, what are the penalties for filing to notify a breach?
So if the organization fails to notify a breach, failure to is basically two major penalties. Okay. First of all, if they are not able to protect the personal data, why DPDP Act is introduced, right? We actually Act completely is talking about protection of personal data. If they have not put sufficient controls initially itself, where they are able to safeguard the personal data, then 250 crores up to 250 crores is the fine. Okay, and if the failure to notify a personal data breach, then up to 200 crores. Okay, so these are the two types of penalties which are involved in this case, and
Yeah.
these two types of penalties make data breach notification one of the most critical compliance duties under the DPDP Act. These are the two penalties which actually make it the most important and most considerable compliance in the DPDP Act.
Why is breach notification important for customer trust?
See, it establishes transparency. Very simple. If your data has been breached and you have not been
Yeah.
informed, definitely you won't be having any trust to the organization, right? So it
True.
establishes trust and transparency. It builds credibility for the organization. Customers today expect honesty, Vidya. We do that, right? We want the
Yeah.
companies to be transparent even when things go wrong. We want them to be transparent, we want them to be honest. So when organizations proactively disclose breaches, they actually signal the responsibility, integrity, and respect for consumers, which is the user rights, right? That is where it also shows their commitment to fix the issue also. Okay, because if they're not informing you, how will you ensure they will be able to fix the issue also? Okay, so this is
Yeah.
where trust is a major factor. Okay, for any organization now to establish trust with their uh, data subjects, definitely they have to make sure that they disclose the breaches, so that it is easier for them to mitigate also later on.
What system must companies build to ensure timely notifications?
So a proper incident response plans is created for this purpose. Okay, every company have their own
Mhm.
incident response plan. Okay, for the same you need to have monitoring systems also, because if you don't have monitoring systems, how would you identify incident, right? So 24/7 monitoring for security incidents, a clear escalation path, logging and auditing of the system to detect any unusual activity. Okay, for example, very high traffic going out to the firewalls, very high volume of traffic going out and all that, so that is unusual activity. Okay, then a proper breach reporting workflow, like who will be reporting, what all has to be reported, what all the report has to contain, all these things have to be listed down by the organization, right? Then pre-approved breach notification templates from the management, so that organization business is basically uh, able to respond to such things. So basically these are some of the things that the organization has to be ready with.
Okay. My next question is,
Vidya,
what
we have a
happens
question.
if the breach is caused by a third party vendor? Okay, okay. In a B2C businesses, having customers, what should be approached in term of this act? Okay,
So
Arijit Roy.
yeah, so Arjit, first of all, a very good question, and thank you so much for asking such a good question. So he's asking, in a B2C business, having customers, what should be the approach in terms of this act? So if your business is having customers and the customers are based out in India, okay, and you're dealing with Indian customers, then you have to take the breach notification very seriously. Like I already mentioned, because of two reasons. You are being checked on two things here by the Data Protection Board of India. Number one, how are you safeguarding the personal data? If your safeguards are not properly done, if your controls are not there, you will be penalized up to 250 crore. That is the first thing. Second thing that you have to understand is that regarding the notification workflows, how is your incident response notifications planned, or do you have an incident response notification in place or not? If you do not have them in place and you are not able to inform the Data Protection Board of India, again you will be charged up to 200 crores. So that is why like we were discussing with, yeah, these are the things that basically make this act more and more critical. And the breach
Hmm.
notification part is very important for any organization who is dealing with huge volume of customer data, like Arjit's organization, right? They have to be very particular about these things, because the more personal data, the more digital personal data that you have, the more complications it has for you, right, in this act.
Can you please share that how you will cover this topic in your batch, that advanced courses that you are taking?
Yeah, very good question. So in the trainings that we do actually, Vidya, we take scenarios. We take scenarios like, let's say a ransomware attack happened, right? Let's say a data exfiltration attack happened. Then we explain to the learners how you would respond in this scenario. How would you create an incident response plan? So all these things we actually do hands on. We actually do it practically during the sessions, right? So we take different scenarios. One scenario will be phishing, one scenario will be ransomware, one scenario will be data breach, one scenario will be misconfigured S3 bucket. All these things we actually take practical, hands-on, and then we suggest the learners. We help them understand how they can respond to such incidents, and all these things they do practically. They create all these incident report plans, they create all these incident reports for the organizations. They do that with their own hands. So that is where practical training actually stands, when you do it actually.
Okay. Acha. My next question is, what happen if the breach is caused by third party vendor or processor?
So now the law is very clear. If the breach is caused by a third party processor, accountability still lies with the main organization. Very simple. Because it is your third party, right? It is your third party, you are accountable. Simple. So that is where fine will come to you. Okay. So if you have a cloud service provider, if you have a SaaS vendor, if you have a payment gateway provider, or any outsourced team, if any of them cause a breach, you must notify the board and
Hmm.
impacted data principals immediately. Okay. So your contracts with the vendors must include a mandatory vendor breach reporting timeline,
Okay.
a proper 24 cross 7 vendor reporting obligations. Your contract should have all these things with the third parties. So vendor negligence does not protect the data fiduciary. Okay. If your vendors are negligent, you are accountable as a data fiduciary. So it's a very important thing. That is why third party risk management plays a very important role. And Vidya, if you see DPDP, TPRM, ISO 27001, all these things are somehow related to each other, right? So because privacy has to be
Yes,
safeguarded.
definitely.
Okay. And DPDP talks about
Yeah.
safeguarding the private privacy. So that is where I say, once you do practical hands on these things, then you understand that each and everything is now interrelated, and that's where it makes more sense.
Yes.
So once somebody does a third party risk management course, he understands the role of a third party, he understands the risk around the third party. Similarly, once does a privacy course like a DPDP Act course with us, then they understand, okay, this is the importance of DPDP Act, these are the main provisions of the DPDP Act that we need to fulfill as an organization, these are the controls that we have to actually implement. So that is where it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And because there you have a lot more time to ask your question, to fill up that queries that you have. You cannot do this in live podcast because everyone, this is free for everyone. If anyone can join it.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, that's the reason you are taking that batches, right? And I would suggest that people should join those batches to learn that advanced thing in this topics. And my last and the final question is, what immediate step must an organization take after discovering a breach? A positive one.
So basically, you need to activate the incident response plan, right? You first of all
Okay.
need to have an incident response plan. If you don't have it, then you have to create it, but then you have to basically trigger it, and then you have to contain the breach. You need to block the access, you need to isolate the servers, you need to revoke the credentials, you need to do all these mitigation steps initially. Okay. Then you need to identify whether there is any personal data involved or not. Okay. So like
Okay.
all these steps where we mentioned actually, so these are the breach response steps, like we already covered. So these are the steps
Okay.
that any organization would have to follow. Okay, they have to contain the breach, they have to assess the impact, they have to preserve the evidence, they have to secure the systems, right? And they have to inform the management also, notify the data protection board of India, and also notify the data subjects also that a breach has happened.
What problems can an organization face if they do not follow these steps?
Forget about problems, they will face hefty fines, like we saw, right? If they're not
Yeah.
able to If they're not able
250
to,
crores.
yeah, it's a hefty fine. Many organization can shut down in this amount. Like they don't have
Okay.
so much money to pay as a fine, right? So yeah, compliance is very huge. It's not easy to comply with these things unless and until you are actually doing something about it.
Okay. So yeah, that was it for today's podcast, and thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. Today we explored why data breach notification under DPDP Act isn't just a legal requirement; it's responsibility that protect individual, builds trust, define maturity of an organization's data governance. As cyber threats grow, the companies that act fast, notify transparently, and follow the law will stand out as a leader in digital trust. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to follow, share, and stay connected with us for more deep dive conversation on cybersecurity, privacy, compliance. Until next time, this is Vidya signing off. Stay safe, stay compliant, and stay secure.
And just before we sign off, Vidya, just wanted to inform everybody that we have a batch starting up, right, for the DPDP also. If they want to enroll, this is the number. Okay. So yesterday, when you actually put this, Vidya, we had a lot of engagement yesterday when you
Okay,
introduced
yeah.
this. So a lot of people called
So
actually
this is
yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is DPDP Act course for 2020, about 2023. Practical job ready program. This is for implementation and training, and this includes new rules, as you guys can see, and we had given all the information there. So this batch is weekday batch, Monday to Friday, and timing will be from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. So anyone who feels like joining this, and I would suggest you guys should join this. So call on this number, contact details are given there. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, guys.